Welcome,
Miss
Camille
Christy.
and Christy.
Hi, Dave. Nice to meet you.
Christy, it's my pleasure.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to today's topic. If you came to my
I'm
house,
looking at it behind you, and I'm thinking you and I should meet.
yeah, I was going to say, you haven't seen this is just a small portion.
Is
You
that
would
your
probably
office?
be able to have your whole career right here.
Is that your office that's behind you?
That's correct. Mhm.
Uh-huh. Okay. Well, I'm going to talk about papers and some of those things. And I was just making some notes about environments for the physically challenged, because that's important. George, I love your background. I just love your background. I love that you've got that behind your desk. Where did you find that graphic?
If you go to the Zoom options,
Uh-huh.
up in the upper left-hand corner, and I think you go to preferences, possibly, and it will give you options for changing your background.
That's
you can
great.
do custom backgrounds also.
You do custom backgrounds. Well, I think that's really neat.
Then, like, Dave could have a background that would show his office as being very organized.
Yes, Dave, I think
that's-
you need a new background, Dave.
Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
Christy has to straighten me out first.
Well, I'm happy to do it. And I specialize in paperwork. I have a background as a paralegal and also a newspaper editor. And I specialize in paperwork, and I'm going to give a good amount of time today on paperwork.
Hi, David. Hi, George.
Hi, Carolyn.
Hi, Carolyn. I'm Christy.
Oh, hi, Christy. I'm so glad.
Hi.
I've been looking forward to this talk today.
Me too. I've been looking forward to doing it, Carolyn, and I thank you for being behind this.
Well, thank you. You're welcome.
For those who've just joined us, why we're still stalling here, waiting for people to get on board.
And you know what, Dave? We could put up a slide that has Christy's phone number. There you go.
Oh, lovely. That is
that's
lovely. Look at how nice that is. I am so impressed with both of you and your computer skills. I really am. I wish I had 1/10 of what you have.
Well, George is our computer guru here.
Is George the guy that does it?
Oh, yeah. He does a great job.
Well, thanks. I do a fair amount. We've had plenty of practice, though. We started doing this probably almost 2 years ago.
Wow.
And so we weren't quite so proficient in the beginning.
No, definitely not. Bit of a learning curve.
Well, so it's okay. It's okay if I join your group if I don't live in Scotts Valley?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, well, I'd like to do that. Do I just go to your website? Can I join on there?
Yes, you can.
Great, I will do that. I'd like to join your group.
And I just highlighted the website. It's just scottsvalleyseniorlife.org. George, I think we probably could go ahead and start if you're ready.
Senior Life Online is sponsored by Scotts Valley Senior Life Association, which we've been talking about. And today's featured guest is Christy Best. She's a professional organizer, and she's going to talk about decluttering and downsizing your home and simplifying your life. And today's topics, Christy will offer strategies for downsizing ahead of relocation, moving, or staging your home, how to deal with memorabilia, photos, and collections, how to achieve better paper flow and deal with junk mail, and she can share ways to improve environments for physically challenged individuals. And I talked to Christy earlier, and she said she'd be happy to have people jump in with questions if they have some, but we'll wrap up at the end with a question and answer session. And here's where you can sign up for our newsletter and suggest future projects. And you can find us on Facebook under Scotts Valley Senior Life. and tax-deductible donations are always welcome. So, donations directly benefit senior citizens around Scotts Valley, and we're an all-volunteer group of seniors. Nearly 100% of donations received are used to directly help seniors living in the area. And you can designate Scotts Valley Senior Life Association as your favorite charity when you shop through Amazon. I know a lot of people are shopping through Amazon nowadays, and you can designate it a charity. It won't cost you anything, and Amazon donates, I think it's 5% of what you spend, they donate to the charity. And a couple of things we've done are automatic electronic defibrillators for mobile home parks in the area, exercise machine for Montevalli, patio umbrellas for Scotts Valley Senior Center. And when we don't have pandemic, we've been doing 2 to 3 free workshops a year, and we cover multiple topics. We've done one on alternative medicine. We did one on election for election information. And one of the projects that we're really excited about supporting locally in Scotts Valley is the new Performing Arts Center that they're building. And if you haven't seen it yet, it's next to the library, the Scotts Valley Library, across from the transit center there in Scotts Valley. And it's going to be an amazing project. And Dave is the treasurer for the organization that's building it or putting it all together. And it's going to be pretty exciting there. They hope to host up to 400 events a year. And I think seating is, how much is this seating in there? 2,000, or is it 2,000 or?
No, much smaller than that. But we do have about 246 very plush seats.
Oh, there you
so
go.
they'd be extremely comfortable to sit in. And I think that eventually we could have as many as 500 people there, but it's not any bigger than that.
Okay, it seems big though. It's an amazing venue.
When George did a video of a presentation on the Performing Arts Center, and that's posted on our website, so you could view that if you chose to do so.
And with that, I will turn it over to Christy.
Thank you, George. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I unmuted myself. Hi, I'm Christy Best, and the name of my business is CLUTTERBUG.net. And I specialize in compulsive hoarding, but I also do many other types of jobs. And I've been in business for 32 years. And what I'd like to share with you today are some of the things that I've learned in the last 32 years about having too much stuff and how it affects your health and your mental health, your physical health. And I have been featured in Good Housekeeping, USA Today, the New York Times, Reader's Digest, Parenting Magazine, Home Remodeling, Prevention Magazine, and Woman's Day. And I've been featured on CNN radio, as well as acted as a spokesperson for the Visa Corporation about paperwork. They wanted me to talk about paperwork, and they send out a lot of paperwork, the Visa Corporation. I'm going to talk a little bit about junk mail and how to get rid of it. And I'd like for anyone to jump in and ask questions at any time. I would like that, because that spurs me on and I can answer your questions personally. And if you have any questions after I'm finished, feel free to call me. George has my phone number posted, and you can call me at any time with any questions. I'm happy to hear from you, and I'm happy to answer any questions. But before we start, I'd like for everyone to have a pad and paper, because I'm going to be giving some phone numbers and some websites, primarily how to get rid of junk mail and how to get rid of catalogs and how to get rid of all the robocalls as well. So if everyone's got a pencil and paper, I'm ready to go. We're going to talk about downsizing because that's happening to all of us. I'll be 70 this year. And so we're all, I think, around the same age. And I want to talk about how to choose what to take with you when you're downsizing, how to choose that. And if you haven't used it in a year, then it's probably a good idea to not take it with you. You can choose, you can make that 2 years, you could make that 3, but if you haven't used it in the home that you're living in the last few years, then it really shouldn't go with you. It really shouldn't. I'm so sorry for the glare. I have a big window in my office. And if you don't love it, but you just own it, then also a good idea not to take it with you. If you don't love it, if it was a gift and you didn't like it in the first place, you don't need to take it with you. I know that's a problem when someone does give you a gift. I was recently gifted with something very large that I didn't have the space for. I thanked my friend profusely, and then I regifted it to the next door neighbors who needed it and loved it, and that felt really good. So regifting is a good idea. Just make sure you don't regift it to the same person. And let's see. So if you've already read a book, but you're keeping it just because you love the book, my suggestion is still donate it to the library, donate it to the Gray Bears. And if books are in boxes, that makes me want to cry because no one is able to look at the book. No one is able to read the book. And books in boxes, I don't agree with. I think that they should be donated, or I think that the Gray Bears would love to have them. Your library there would love to have them. And it's a good idea to donate books. I want to talk about moving because a lot of people are having to move to a much smaller space in the older years. And the same criteria applies that I just talked about, but you have to purge before you move. Before you move, you can't just have someone come in and box up everything that's in there. I've seen movers box up pails of garbage, literally, and put them in a box and ship them to the next place where the person is going to be living. So if you're hiring movers, you must purge beforehand. And you must label the boxes when you move with every single thing that's in that box. It takes less than 5 minutes, and you will love yourself on the other end when you have labeled the boxes so that you know where the thing is that you're looking for. And I've seen people just, inundated with boxes that aren't labeled, and they have to fish through every box to find what they need. And it's a waste of time, and it's very stressful.
Christy,
And when you're
Christy,
packing,
there's a question from Betty Arnold she has a question about old, outdated professional books.
okay.
What to do with those?
Okay. Betty, I think with old, outdated professional books, I believe the Santa Cruz University, the UCSC library will take those. I've donated some professional books to them before. It really depends on the date. If they're very, very, very outdated and possibly obsolete, then you're going to have to just get rid of them. But I would check with the UCSC library first and see if they will take them. What kind of professional books? What profession?
They're medical school books.
Oh,
And they won't even take them to in underdeveloped countries. I think if they're older than
oh,
5 to 8 years or
it's
something like
it's
that. I looked
true.
into
It's
some
true.
time
And are
ago.
yours older than that?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well,
And they're hard bound, and I hate to just dump them in the garbage, but I get the feeling that there's no other use for them.
if they won't even take them in poor countries where it seems like they would need them, then you're
Right,
probably going to have to throw them away, as painful as I know that is, because they're probably obsolete. And the
right,
most of the information is probably obsolete, with the exception of anatomy and things like that. But if they're in your house and they're taking up space, they need to go. I think they need to go away. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. If you've already
right.
checked into it, have you checked with the UCSC library?
Not that one in particular. I'm over here in San Jose area,
Oh, I
but
see.
I mean, I can check with them, but I'm talking about books that are, 40 years old, 30, 40
Yeah,
years.
I think probably you're not going to find a home for that. And it's very sad. It's
And
very
even
sad.
the
At least,
paper can't get recycled. Even,
did you try
you
the
know,
Gray Bears?
I
Oh,
don't know
you're in
what
San
that
Jose.
is.
No, you don't know what the Gray. You're in San Jose. We have a wonderful organization in Santa Cruz called the Gray Bears. It's run by seniors, and they take just about everything in the form of donation. And there may be somebody that would like to have those and just look at them for fun. So if you know anybody that's coming this way, or if one of the other group members would like to help out by getting those books from you and trying to donate them to the Gray Bears, they might have room on their bookshelves for those.
I I can call them. Thank you for the
Yes, please
suggestion.
do. And I meant to have the Gray Bears number handy and I don't, but they are located on Chanticleer Avenue, and George is going to find it. So, do you have any other questions?
No, no.
No.
Sorry to interrupt.
Okay. That's okay. That's okay. I wish I could be of more help than that. So I was talking about moving and labeling your boxes. And before you move, you have to make sure that you've got a place for the item that you're moving. I have seen so many people move the contents of a 3 or 4 bedroom house into um, a small living 1 bedroom space and try to take everything, and it's like a carton of eggs and trying to fit 13 eggs in there. It's just not ever going to happen. So you must have a place to put it before you move. You must identify a place to put it. I recommend before you move that you make a floor plan, you measure each room, and then make a little diagram. And before you move, place your furniture, place your storage things, place your kitchen things, and make sure you have space before you move it. And if you don't, you just can't take it with you. And that's the other thing. Now that we're getting on in age, we can't take it with us. And what is going to happen with those of us that have too much stuff is either our children, our grandchildren, our friends, someone is going to have to deal with that stuff that you have. And it's important right now to organize, especially your photographs and memorabilia, and identify those so that when your family does end up having to go through your things, they can clearly see who everyone is and what that memorabilia meant to you, instead of just having them guessing. I have had so many clients that have inherited their mother's or father's things or their aunts or uncles' things, and the photographs weren't identified. No one knew who they were. And so it's pointless to have that, because if no one knows who they are, then it doesn't make any sense for them to have the photograph, and they'll probably just end up tossing it. But better to have that organized. I organized thousands of photos just a few years ago. At first, I organized them. I had a big table. I organized them by decade, and then I organized them into smaller piles, and then I organized them by family, by friends, by locations. This was a vacation that grandma took to Tahiti, and this is where I was standing, and this is what it meant. And the best place to buy photo albums, I think, is Beverly's. And Beverly's has good photo albums. They have clear pages that you can stick memorabilia in, theater tickets, or cards or things like that you can stick into clear pages. And those things are irreplaceable, but they must be identified before you go away, because otherwise they'll just get chucked. And so that's important about photographs. So, and I talked about books and the library or the Gray Bears. And I want to talk about junk mail. I'm going to give you some resources. First of all, it's okay to recycle junk mail if it simply has your name and address on it. It's okay to put that in the recycle bin. I know we're all terrified of identity theft. I was the victim of identity theft about 2 years ago. It took forever to fix it, but I had thrown away some 1099s with my social security number on it. Somebody, I guess at the landfill, had found those and attempted to steal my identity. But junk mail, it's okay. If it just has your name and address, it's okay to just put it in your recycle. And I recommend that you keep a recycle bag right next to where you sort your mail, so that when the mail comes in, the recycling goes immediately into a recycle bin, and then when it's full, it goes out into your recycle bin. Catalogs. Does anyone get too many catalogs? No. Oh, thank you for the Gray Bears phone number. Well, if you don't get too many catalogs, then you won't need this website, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. It's called Catalog Choice, CHOICE.org. And that will stop the mailing out of the umpteen catalogs that we receive that we never asked for. You can opt out of junk mail. You can opt out of junk mail for 5 years by calling the following number. It's 888-567-8688. And there's another number, a secondary number that you'll need to call, to the Direct Marketing Association, the DMA. They are the culprits that are behind most of the junk mail we receive. And their number is 212-768-7277. And both of these numbers are automated. They'll ask for your name and address and your zip code, and it'll take about a month, but they will take you off of direct mailing lists for 5 years. You have to do it again, but 5 years is a good long time. There's also a site, you can download something called Paper Karma, Karma. It's $3.99 a month, but they will manage your junk mail for you. And that's another good resource. Does anyone get robocalls on their phone?
Yeah. Oh.
You can download something on your phone called RoboKiller. And I have done that, and I don't get any robocalls ever on my phone. So that's how to get rid of a lot of unwanted things that come in, but definitely recycling that and not worrying about your name and address. I want to tell you about a little gadget. I usually don't recommend gadgets, but I think everyone needs one of these. It's a small roller, an ink roller. It's called ID Police, and it rolls over your social security number or your account number or any personal information, and it obliterates it on both sides of the paper. And you can order that at get, GET, ID, capital I, capital D, police.com. Or you can call 800-301-6867. It's about $9.99, and I think everyone in the world needs one, because when we get things in the mail that have personal information and we don't want to recycle them for just that reason, it's important to just obliterate. Then you don't have to shred it. But if you want to keep a shredding box, always keep a shredding box. If you for the rest of your life, you need a shredding box, and you can take your shredding to the UPS store. You can take it to Staples. You can take it to Office Depot. They simply weigh it. Used to be 79 cents a pound. I believe that's what it still is at the UPS store. They will securely shred it for you. They'll put it in a locked box at their store. It goes from there to the shredder. So you don't have to buy a paper shredder and sit there and try to shred all of that mail. They'll shred your tax returns. The IRS has changed the criteria, and now we're only required to keep tax returns for 3 years instead of 7. And so they will also shred your old tax returns, which is a really great idea. They take up space, and you don't need them. As far as paper that we need, 80% of what we keep on file, we never resource again. 80%. So we're only looking for 20% of what we're keeping. And so we need to make a goal to just keep that 20% of what we really need. We don't need copies of utility bills. We don't even need copies of credit card statements once it's been resolved for the month, and you make sure that nothing silly is on there. But you do need to obliterate your account number, which is why I suggested that little gizmo. I think it's a great invention, and I think it's wonderful. We don't, oh, and Medicare generates a lot of paperwork. I think we all know that. And you can go to mymedicare.gov, and sign up, and everything will come to you online. You can look at it or not, but all of the paperwork will be eliminated from Medicare. I don't get a single thing from Medicare. It comes to me online, and I can read it when I want to, and I don't have any paper lying around from Medicare. It is important to keep medical records. I suggest that you keep copies of lab tests. And I don't suggest that you keep your medical bills, but I think that you need to keep lab tests. You need to keep anything that has any important medical history on it, because in my case, my parents have passed away years ago, and I don't have a clue about the family history of my medical. So if you keep that, then your family will have access to your medical history, and that's really important. But as far as old medical bills, no, you don't need to keep that. Keep that for a year, and then when the year is over, you can toss it. As far as your monthly bills, it's not necessary to create a file for PG&E and the water company and the credit card companies. Just file them by month. January through December, when you pay a bill, put it in the month that you paid it. And then at the end of the year, put those aside and start over. Keep the old ones for a year. And then all you have are 12 folders. You don't need more than 12 folders for your bills that you're filing. Does anybody have any questions about paper?
Yes.
What?
Why keep the paper bills if you do online banking?
Well, you don't need to if you do it online. You won't get any paper bills. I pay all of my bills online, 100% of them, and I don't get any paper. I was recently gone for 2 months. I just returned a few days ago, and I had 10 pieces of mail in my mailbox because
Wow.
it's all automated. And I am not afraid to bank online. There are a lot of people who are terrified to bank online because of hackers. I think the banks have gone to great lengths to keep those websites secure. And personally, I bank online. But if you want to keep your paid bills for a year, you can. It makes some people feel more secure, and that's important. Any other questions about paperwork? Anybody have too much paper? Dave? You know, I know it's time consuming to go through it. And you asked me about motivation. And motivation is important. And once you get started, you'll get the motivation. But getting the motivation to begin is very difficult. And here's what I suggest. I suggest you reward yourself for doing any organizing task. I suggest that you reward yourself. You can take yourself out to lunch. You can take yourself to a movie. You can invite a friend over for tea. Reward yourself in some nice way after you have done some organizing. And you have to start small. Pick an area that you'd like to see prettier. Pick an area in your home. Maybe it's your living room, maybe it's your office, maybe it's your bedroom. Pick that area and then start with that. And start by removing anything that doesn't look nice or anything that doesn't belong in that room. Declare that a clutter-free zone and start with that room. And take small steps. Schedule an appointment with yourself. Put it down on your calendar that from 9 to 10 today, I am going to organize my file cabinet. Or from 9 to 10, I am going to start to organize my bedroom. And if you tear things apart and then you run out of time and don't have time to put it somewhere else, then that's a non-motivator. So once you've scheduled the time, then oh, that works. Once you schedule the time, then you'll see it start to happen. You'll see that room start to look better, and that will be your motivation. I promise you'll get motivated after that. So if you schedule an appointment with yourself and you don't keep that appointment, just reschedule it. Just like you're scheduling a doctor's appointment. And I know getting organized feels like a doctor's appointment. It feels like going to the dentist. It's not, I love doing it, but everyone doesn't love doing it. It's overwhelming. It's just overwhelming. But, you know.
Christy,
Uh-huh.
I was just going to say that I knew you were going to talk about being overwhelmed. And I found that when I feel overwhelmed and I do just a little bit of organizing, I feel much better afterwards.
That's good, George. That's excellent. I mean, you could choose your desktop. You could just choose your desktop for a day and decide just to do that and just to do the desktop, and that's all for the day. But I want to talk about making a list. I want to talk about lists. Everyone makes lists. Lists are our friend. instead of leaving, let's just say we're working on your desktop, George, instead of leaving a piece of paper out on your desktop to remind you that you need to act on that piece of paper, put it on your list, whatever it is, put the list in a fold, put the item, the paper in a folder called pending, and then keep your papers in there, but not out on the desktop. All you want on your desktop is one master list. And I learned that from a man that wrote a book called If You Don't Have the Time to Do It Right, When Will You Find the Time to Do It Over? And his name is Jeffrey Meyer, M-A-Y-E-R. It's an excellent book, and it has taught me so much. I read it many years ago. It's still in print. And he taught me about keeping only a list, but not the papers out that pertain to the list. And I think that's important. But I know that when people have to get rid of things, let's say with downsizing or moving, it's very painful to get rid of things sometimes, primarily because you paid money for it. And so what I have to say about that is that you can't get the money back by virtue of keeping the item. The money's gone. You spent it years ago. The item may be obsolete. Maybe you just don't like it anymore. Maybe it just doesn't serve you. Maybe it doesn't fit in your house. So it's okay to let go, and it's a good feeling to let go. In Santa Cruz, I highly recommend, like I said, the Gray Bears on Chanticleer Avenue. And one thing that everyone should do is keep a donation box going at all times. At all times, you need a box for just donations, whether it's a pencil or something small, it doesn't matter. Put it in the donation box. If you see something around the house that doesn't serve you anymore, put it in the donation box. And when that box is full, it needs to leave your home immediately. It needs to go in your car. And the next time you're out, you'll take it to the Goodwill or the Gray Bears or the Salvation Army or the ASPCA, whatever charity you desire, and take that box immediately when it's full and then start another box. Or you can take the items and put them in a plastic bag and save your box and use your box over and over if you'd like. But everyone needs a donation box at all times, at all times. It's really important. It's important to act on those items when you look at them and you think to yourself, oh, I need to donate that. Well, then it needs to go in the box when that thought is happening and not later on. And that's really the key to being organized, is to the old adage of a place for everything and everything in its place that Grandma said is really true. And if we find a place for everything and then we put that thing back where it goes, which generally takes less than 30 seconds, even if you have to walk from room to room, and you put that item back, you'll always know where it is. I see a lot of people who buy duplicate items because they couldn't find them. I've seen people with 30 pairs of scissors because they couldn't find any scissors. So, if it's in its place, then you don't need to buy more of what you already have. It's important when you're choosing a room to be clutter free. Pick the room you'd like to see clutter free the most and start there. And start in 20-minute increments, and then take a break, and then 20 more minutes, and then take a break. Don't wake up in the morning and say, okay, today I'm going to organize the garage, because it takes longer than a day to organize most garages. I have found it usually takes me 2 days. And storage units. Does anyone have a storage unit? An offsite storage unit? You do? What's in there, George? I can't hear you now. Let's see. You're muted and Dave is muted.
Yeah.
There you are.
Actually, I have 3 generations of family heirlooms that I've been going through over the past 10 or 15 years. And I've narrowed it down to a storage unit that's about 5 by 8.
That's great. And are those things you're going to pass along to your children?
My kids said, Dad, we don't want your junk. And so I'm doing everything that you suggest, and I'm making notes to do additional
Good.
things like that.
Good.
Yeah.
You know, I
And it
hate
does
to,
feel good.
I hate it sometimes to tally up. If you tally up what you've spent monthly times 12 months times the number of years that you've had it in storage, sometimes it's an astronomical amount, and sometimes the amount of paying for the storage is far more than the items are worth.
Yeah.
You're in Scotts Valley. I will send you, I know the name of a man in Scotts Valley that deals with antiques. I'll email that to you. And he's a really
That'd be
good
great.
guy, and he's interested in some things. He's even interested in old LPs. A lot of people are keeping old LPs around.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. We all want that number. Or I do.
Okay, okay. Well, I can look it up really fast.
Can't you
It's
just-
in it's in my phone. Let me find it. He's in Scotts Valley. He's a great guy. And I can find it in my contacts in about just a minute here.
Wonderful.
Because if you all want that number, then I am going to look it up right this second. Let's see who he is. He's in here. I call him often when I have nice things that is anyone interested in a phone number for someone that does estate sales?
Yes, please.
Okay, her name is Katrina, Katrina. Her last name is Losee, Losee. She does estate sales. Her number is 831-402-3810. She does estate sales. And then let me find the man
you.
that in Scotts Valley, you're welcome, who deals with, he'll come and look at your antiques. You don't have to haul them over there. And I have him in my phone. Bear with me for just a moment while I find it. I should have written that down before I talked to you, but I didn't think of him. Okay. Let's see. He is in here. His name is Robert, and his last name, I'll spell it. It's S as in Sam, L as in Larry, A, W as in William, U, N as in Nora, S as in Sam, K, I. Robert, I just lost him.
So,
Robert Slawonski, and his number is 408-505-0708. And he will look at your antiques, and I believe he also does estate sales, and he's a super nice guy, and I think he's in Scotts Valley. I'm almost positive he's in Scotts Valley.
Yeah. You know what, Christy?
Uh-huh.
I had some old Chinese artifacts that I had inherited, and he specializes in Asian arts.
Oh, so you know
And,
Robert.
Yeah, and he sold them on consignment. He has auctions, I'm pretty sure.
He's wonderful. We have an echo. Do you hear it?
let me get out of here.
Yeah.
Okay, that was Christina. Does anyone else have any questions for me? Is there anything else that I can help with? Does anybody have any particular challenges in their home and they feel paralyzed when they look at that spot in their home? It could be an office. It could be, some people have junk rooms and those are overwhelming. It's an extra bedroom where things go that aren't being used. And sometimes junk rooms are overwhelming. The way to deal with junk rooms is to be ruthless and go in there and choose what can be donated. And there are some things, sadly, that can't be donated that are actually just trash. And I know we hate to throw things away, but many things can be recycled. Oh, the Gray Bears will also take computers, printers. They will take DVD players, and they will clean out the computer of your personal information, and then they resell those computers. And they're a great organization. Let's see, that's what to do with e-waste and also with old CDs. Some of them are obsolete. You may have an AOL CD that they sent you in the mail, 10 years ago. Sadly, that's going to have to be thrown away because it's obsolete. They make so much obsolete. Our phones, our computers, they make them obsolete so quickly that many things that we save, such as floppy disks, we don't have a place to view the floppy disk anymore. So the floppy disks have to go. And does anyone else have any questions? Any places in their home that they feel like are too challenging to tackle?
What do you recommend for clothes?
Clothes. Well, you're a woman, Christina. So, and my name's Christina also. And, you're a woman, so we tend to keep more clothes. We really do. And we keep things that are in sizes that we wish we would get down to again. And I finally got rid of my darling size 4 clothing. I'll never wear them again. They will never, ever fit me again. And I donated them and I felt really good about it. We wear 20% of our clothing 80% of the time. So there's 80% of our clothing that we own that we're not going to wear because we're not wearing it. And it's good to save. You need to save something black for a memorial or a funeral. You need to save something pretty for a wedding or a garden party. You need to have those, and those you may not wear that often, but it's important to keep that. But if you have clothes that you haven't worn in the last year, they really need to go. The best thing to do is to have a girlfriend come over, or I do that too with people. Have a girlfriend come over, try them on, and get an honest opinion about how they look on you. That's pretty important. It's good to have a second opinion. You might think something looks good and your girlfriend might go, oh, you know what? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. You're welcome. And men, the same thing. If you haven't worn clothing, if you haven't worn the coat, if you haven't worn the pants, if they don't fit, it's important that you donate them. If we do lose 25 or 30 pounds and we get back into a size that is smaller, we can go to the Goodwill and we can replace those items. But it's important not to use our homes as a storage facility. Our homes are not for that. They're not made for that. Our homes are meant to have guests, and our homes are meant to socialize and entertain our families and entertain our friends. And they're not meant to be storage facilities. And we have so much more stuff than our ancestors ever had. And we tend to collect more stuff. Hoarding versus collecting. Hoarding means that, I'll give you the definition of collecting is different. With collections, you keep it, you display it. You may have some dolls, you may have some teddy bears, but you display those collections so that people can look at them. That's the point of a collection. Hoarding is very different. Hoarders are not aware of what they actually possess. It's about the acquisition. It's about the acquisition of the item only. It's not about the need. It's not about the functionality. It is about just acquiring something because maybe it was at a good price, maybe it was free. And it's important to be aware not to bring those things home if you don't have the space for them. And that goes for clothing on sale. Just because it's on sale doesn't mean you need to buy it. If you don't buy it, you save 100% because you've still got the money in your pocket. And hoarders also collect garbage, recycling, boxes and bins of stuff that maybe they've gotten at a yard sale and they've never used. And it's a very dangerous proposition, hoarding, and it makes your house unsuitable for guests. It makes your house unsuitable for family. Does anyone live with a clutter bug that and they don't know what to do?
I have a friend. Hi, this is Jack.
Hi.
Hi, Christy.
Hi,
Hey,
Jack.
I don't live with this friend, but I have a friend that is a big time hoarder. And every time my wife and I go and visit her, she says, "Oh yes, I'm bringing somebody in to help me get rid of this stuff." I don't know if she does or not, but the stacks get bigger and bigger, and literally, you have to go through a little tiny tunnel to get through her place. And any words of wisdom about how to get her to?
Well, number one, she has to want the help. She has to want to change. If she doesn't want to change it and she can live like that, then there's nothing you can do. But if she wants the help, she can call a professional organizer. There's lots of us. And she can get the help to clear out her home so that she can live more simply. But she may not want the help.
Mm-hmm.
She may not. I wish that she did. I get calls from hoarders. I get calls from families of hoarders. I get calls from friends of hoarders asking me to help. And I will go over and talk to the hoarder. And many times they do not want the help. They just are comfortable being insulated like that. Having all that stuff around is an insulating factor, and it keeps you from the rest of the world. And that's primarily why they do it. It also boils down to obsessive compulsive disorder, which is the compulsion to continue to acquire things even though you already have them or you don't need them. And ADD is also a big factor. People with ADD have a much harder time organizing than people without ADD. And I have ADD. I was diagnosed with ADD about 8 years ago. I take a medication for the ADD, but my ADD goes in the other direction. It goes into getting rid of things instead of acquiring things. So it kind of, I have the opposite effect. It has the opposite effect. Any other questions? Anybody have any questions? George, is there anything you can think of that I haven't? Oh, you know what I didn't talk about? I didn't talk about preparing your home, improving your environment if you're physically challenged. And that's important. First of all, you have to remove all clutter. That's number one. You have to. There is no other choice. With a physically challenged person, the floors must be clear and the pathways must be clear. The hallways must be clear. The bathrooms must be clear of clutter, and the kitchen area must be clear of clutter if the physically challenged person needs to get in there and prepare a meal. Let's just say that person's in a wheelchair. Everything has to be placed at that person's level. And I see so many times that they can't reach things and the kitchen hasn't been adjusted or the bathroom hasn't been adjusted to suit the physically challenged person. Any comments on that? It's a good idea to keep baskets, little baskets. You can get them at the dollar store, to put medications in, to put remotes in, to put items in that are used all the time that the physically challenged person needs to have access to. It's important to have those things in little baskets or bins and not strewn all about. But with the physically challenged, you must clear the floors. That's just primary. The floor is not a storage space. So if you look around and you've got things on your floor, they shouldn't be there. The floor should always be clear. So unless there's a place for what's on the floor, then probably the stuff on the floor needs to go if you can't find a home for it. We talked about motivation.
Yeah, Betty has a question.
Yes.
Unmute yourself, Betty.
I was just looking around and reminded, how many books do you think are reasonable to keep? I mean, you know, if you've got bookcases and you want to have some on display or show, I know I can get rid of hundreds and hundreds of books here. But
well, the amount of books to keep are the ones you haven't read. That's important. B, the ones that are beautiful, such as coffee table books or have beautiful illustrations or photographs. But if there's not a place for all the books and the bookcases are full and the books are spilling out elsewhere, then the books that don't have a home need to go away, or the equivalent of that amount of books needs to go away. So if you've already read it and you donate it to the library and you want to read it again, you can always go check it out at the library. Mm-hmm. And so if there are books that you've already read that you're pretty sure you're not going to read again, it's okay to get rid of those. I know it's hard to get rid of books. I know it is, but you may be surprised. You may go to your bookcase and you may find a dozen that you could donate. And then you'd have rooms for the ones that don't fit. And then you could put those and alternate those with the ones that you don't want to read anymore. So a reasonable amount of books is what fits. And if it doesn't fit, if you can't find them.
With everything being available online nowadays, you can get rid of a lot of books.
It's true. Research books and even cookbooks, because you can Google any recipe you want and you can get a dozen right in front of you. And so it's eliminated the need to have so many books. And books are pretty, but they're not pretty when they're stacked all about, and they're not pretty when they're stacked on the floor, and they're not good when there's too many of them and you're just overwhelmed with them. And that's true of everything in your home. That's true of everything in your home. If it no longer serves you, it's okay to get rid of it. Even if it was a gift, and even if you inherited from your aunt, you can get rid of it if you want to. It's your choice. You can live in a cluttered home or not. And it's just a personal choice. It's just all about choosing simplicity over chaos. And I got rid of some artwork that had been on my walls for 50 years, and I didn't see them anymore. I didn't see them when I walked past them anymore. they had been there for so long that I just didn't notice them anymore. So I donated that artwork, and I've replaced it with a few new things. And I've decided now only to have artwork that's created by a friend. And so my whole area is decorated with artwork that's been created by friends or came from a special place. I see behind you, you've got on the wall, are those iguanas? Are those iguanas on the wall behind you? They're hanging on the wall, right? Or are they alligators or iguanas?
Are you talking to me, Betty
Uh-huh.
Arnold?
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
something behind you on the wall. Are those iguanas?
Those are hand painted figures from
Oh.
Oaxaca
And
and
you
from
got those
Australia.
from Oaxaca. How wonderful. And that's the kind of thing that you always want to display in your home, things that you got in a foreign country and things that are hand painted. And that's so important to keep those kind of things. You know, it's part of your life. It's part of your identity. It's something that you did. It's something that you did when you went on that trip. And I love Oaxaca. And so that's the criteria with keeping artwork is if it's hand painted, if it's handmade, I say always keep it. Always keep it. I think it's important. And I think, oh, I'm sorry, my finger's in front. And I think that your grandchildren or even your children might actually appreciate those. Many people's children have announced to them that they don't want any of their stuff. And so then we have to think about it. If the kids don't want it, but we're still saving it, they're going to get rid of it in the end anyway. So you might as well get rid of it and take it to the place where you want it to be, other than have somebody coming. I had a client in Pacific Grove, and I drove past her house and she had passed away, and there was just a dumpster in front, and everybody was just throwing her things in the dumpster because it hadn't been sorted before she died. And so it just got all thrown away. So that was a sad story. But people become their things, and the things take on a life of their own. And sometimes these objects clutter up our lives and complicate our lives. And it's just stuff, and you're free to get rid of it if you want to. So
I had a couple of things to add, Christy.
sure.
Yeah, Sue Cravat had mentioned that as far as clothes go, there's a place called Carolyn's in Aptos Village.
Yes.
And all sales there go to charity.
Yes.
So, and a
That's
related
wonderful.
thing,
That's a wonderful resource.
yeah. And I've noticed too that vintage clothing is really popular now in a lot of places. Young people like it, and cosplayers, people who like to dress up in costume like
Yes.
it. And then a lot of people just like to go there and trade clothes. They'll go in and, give something to the owner and then get trade in return. And they'll, that way they can get new things to them.
That's a fun thing to do. And you can also trade clothes with, and I'm talking to the women right now, basically, men not so much, but maybe you can trade clothes with your friends. And I've done that often. I just went to organize a house in Colorado Springs, and my friend had a pile of clothing on the bed, waiting for me in the guest room. And they were darling, and I tried them all on, and they fit, and I shipped them home, and now I have them. But I'm going to get rid of the equivalent. When you bring in something new, whether it's a book, a sweater, item for the kitchen, when you bring in something new, you have to get rid of something of an equivalent amount, and you have to do it immediately, because otherwise we get overcrowded. And I think basically we're all overcrowded. That's what I've seen over the last 32 years. So that's all I have to offer unless anyone has any more questions for me or any more resources they'd like to share.
I have another question.
Sure.
If I could.
Yeah.
Do you think there, is there any good way, do you think it's worth our time to try to sell items online?
Only if you can get more than $50 a piece.
Ah, okay.
Only if you can get more than $50 a piece. If it's something that's less than $50, I don't think it's worth your time. Your time is so valuable. We have such a limited amount of time left that we must use it wisely. And that's very time consuming. You can take the tax donation if you itemize your taxes. When you donate things, keep a list. There's a
Right.
website called itsdeductible.com. It will give you the IRS allowable value of that item, and that's what they'll allow you to deduct. And you're much better off taking the tax donation than you are trying to have a yard sale or trying to sell items online. But that's not to say if you have a credenza or you have a bookcase or you have a microwave or something that you could get more than $50 worth for, then yes, sell it.
Where is the best place to sell things like that?
I like Craigslist.
Craigslist.
Mm-hmm.
Facebook has a Facebook marketing
Yes.
Right.
page that's pretty
Yeah.
good. And
Christy, what was that IRS site that you mentioned?
It's called itsdeductible.com, itsdeductible.com, all lowercase, and they will give you the IRS allowable value for the items that you're donating when you write them off on your taxes. You'd be surprised at how generous they are with the amounts.
Oh.
You'd be amazed at how generous they are with the amounts. Much more than you would think. Much more than you would think. It's deductible.com. Yep, that's it.
And George, you were saying, George said Facebook Marketplace, and then you were saying something else?
Facebook, and also Nextdoor is really popular now.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And yeah, you're welcome.
You know, if you're
More?
not thinking about getting money for your items, I've had great luck just putting things down at the bottom of the driveway with the sign.
That's
Great.
a good idea. That's a great idea. And you know what else is a good idea is put free stuff at the bottom of the driveway.
That's what I mean. Yeah, with the big sign says free.
With a big
Yeah.
sign that says free. Yeah, yeah. But if you have a lawnmower or something, you know, if you live in a safe enough neighborhood, you could put it out there and put a sign on it that says $50, and you might have some takers. You know, it doesn't take much time to do it, and it would be easy. And I found that works when I'm working with people and we're working in a garage, for instance. We'll make a free pile, or we'll put some signs on some things and put them out on the driveway, and people will invariably stop by and buy them. So that's a good idea too.
Any more, anybody? Any more?
Any more, anybody?
So, well, that was great, Christy. Lots of great
Yes,
advice.
indeed.
and-
Thank you. Very helpful. Thank you. I've got pages of notes and numbers.
Good.
Bless you.
good.
Thank you very much.
I'm so
Thank you.
glad. I'm so glad. And anyone, please feel free to call me. George has my phone number and it's posted on the screen, and you can call me anytime if you have any personal questions. I'm happy to answer them. And if you need help with photo albums or you need help with your garage, you can call on me too, and I'll come over and have a look and tell you about how long it would take. And, you know, I can do it. So I have 4 helpers, I have a crew, and we can do moving and downsizing as well. So, okay, well, thanks everybody. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you. And as we say, we recorded this program. It's going to be on our YouTube channel, so you could go through and you could like fast forward to all the places that you were interested in knowing more about. And
That's great, George. Will you send me a link to that?
yes, we will do
Thank
that
you.
for sure. It
Thank
might
you
take
so
me a
much.
few days.
Well, you've
Might
been
take me
wonderful.
until the end of
You've
the
been
week.
wonderful, and I'm thrilled with your technology expertise that you can pull this together. I'm just thrilled.
Well, thank you. Thank you for helping out.
Very good.
Yeah. All right. Well, our next Scotts Valley Senior Life Online will be hosting Scotts Valley Fire Chief Ron Whittle. He'll be talking about fire safety around your home, how you can have home fire safety preparedness. And that'll be March 21st at 4 o'clock. So tune in then. And in the meantime, give Christy a call when you need to get organized.
Very good. Christy, thank you so much. It's been
Thank you,
fascinating.
Dave. Thank
Made
you
lots
so
of,
much.
I made lots of
Dave.
notes.
I'm
And,
glad.
and yes, I'm the poster child for somebody who needs your services.
Okay, well then give me a call, Dave, anytime.
Okay,
Okay, thanks, everybody.
very good.
Thank you.
Thanks all for being with us today.
Okay,
Bye-bye now.
bye.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
You.
Bye, everybody.